Hello everybody, how's it going? So today I'm doing a video on this Harbor Freight Predator 9000 generator I picked up on sale the other day. I've been dreaming about the Honda 6500 series generator, but just couldn't justify the expense. I picked this up for $629, and the Honda was about 4 times the price, which again, I just couldn't pull off. Now I do understand that this generator is nowhere near as quiet or of the same quality as the Honda, but as it's for occasional or emergency use, it won't be used for camping or near a bunch of other people. I figured this is a low cost, good alternative to the Honda. So before I get to the unboxing, let's quickly go over the size and weight of this thing when you pick it up. The box itself measures 28 inches wide, 23 inches deep, and about 24 inches high, and it weighs every bit of 200 pounds. And that's without fuel, oil, and of course the battery, which you have to pick up separately, which I believe are going to add about another 50 pounds. So when it's done, I think it'll sit about 250 pounds. Now my intention is to mount this thing to a good sized pull cart or wagon, something that I can eventually tow behind a UTV or a cart around my property. So to support this weight, we're going to have to do some modification to the cart I intend to use, which I'll also include in this video. Okay, here it is unboxed. Besides what you see here, you also get a hard copy owner operator's manual, a quick start guide, and a high altitude kit, which includes a couple carburetor main jets, O-rings, and installation instructions. The jet that comes in the generator is good from sea level to about 3,000 feet of elevation. Then you get 2 additional jets, one good for 3,000 to 6,000 feet, and the other for 6,000 to 8,000 feet. The engine itself is 13 horsepower, 420 cc 4-stroke. It's got an overhead valve. It's air-cooled, and it provides 7,250 running watts of power. The quick start guide and the operator's manual both have wattage tables, so you can calculate your total draw. If you are thinking about running, refrigerators, freezers, pumps, and things like that, it gives you a nice handy template so that you can make note of all the wattage, make sure you're not increasing the draw on the generator. With an 8-gallon fuel tank using 87 plus octane fuel, it states with less than 10% of ethanol, which is recommended. It boasts that it'll run 13 hours at 50% load, which is pretty impressive. I'm going to use some 87 octane non-ethanol based fuel, which I can purchase locally. And then the plan is to install a drain tube so that I can empty the tank until I need it. On the front, you see here from the left to the right are the following. Far left there is a light that's a low oil indicator. Then you've got the power start switch, which has got a plastic membrane cover over it. Then there's a 12 volt DC outlet, which is basically a cigarette lighter receptacle. The DC circuit receptacle breakers right next to it there. It has 2 3-prong 120 volt AC duplex 20 amp U-ground receptacles and associated circuit breakers. Then on the far right there is the single 3-prong twist lock 120 volt AC 30 amp receptacle and breaker, and then one 4-prong twist lock 120 240 volt 30 amp receptacle, and again with the associated breaker. There's also a ground lug here on the front, which is useless unless you're going to permanently mount it and earth ground the thing. I'm not going to be able to ground it putting it on my cart with the rubber tires unless I wanted to drive a ground rod or bond it to something else. So lastly, down low here is the oil filler on the dipstick, as well as location for the electric start 12 volt 9 amp hour battery, which you need to purchase separately. On the top that you can't see either is the fuel cap and the fuel level indicator. On the left side are the following. There's the fuel valve where you can shut the fuel off, which also has a sediment bowl that can be drained and removed with a small screw. I think I'm going to try to see if I can adapt it there and put a drain tube in and another little petcock so I can shut it off and drain it as needed. On the left side is also the choke and a replaceable air filter canister. Also, the pull start handle is on the left. And I think I'm actually going to get a spare rope and handle in advance, so I've got a backup in case of a dead battery or a broken rope. You know, you can never be too prepared. On the far right side is the main exhaust pipe exit. There's nothing else there on the right side. On the back is a spark plug, the valve cover, and the main cylinder assembly. Now regarding the engine oil, the manual advises on using a 10W30 for use above 32 degrees and a 5W30 for 32 degrees and below. I plan on just using a synthetic 10W30. And also the capacity is 1.16 quarts. The spark plug that comes in this thing is a Chinese Torch F6TC, which cross-reference, and I'm going to replace it with an NGK BPR6ES. And then lastly, there are 8 holes that are on the main frame assembly on the bottom that you can use to bolt this thing down to a flat surface permanently, or in my case, I'm going to bolt it down to my cart. So they look like they'll support I don't know if it'll support a 3/8 bolt or not, but again, there's 8 of them that you can use to bolt it down. So that's it. On to the next step, which is the cart. Alright, here's the garden utility cart we got from eBay. The box you're seeing there is about 50 inches by 32 inches by 8 inches deep. Weighs 75 pounds. Again, we picked it up on eBay, and with shipping was about 140 bucks. So it says it can handle 1,200 pounds. By the time we modify it and get the generator mounted to it, we'll see if it can handle that weight. We'll open it up here right now and take a look inside real quick before we move on. Okay, here's what we got inside the box. The panels on the bottom are the sides that go to the cart. The cart top itself is 46 by 30. The wheels in there are inflated wheels, 13-inch diameter, and it looks like they're on a 5/8 inch axle. So in the event that these tires are too cheap and don't work properly, I can always change them out. I did see some decent tires at Tractor Supply that I can change them out with. So this thing, you'll see it once it's assembled. It does come with a nice handle that you can pull that off and attach it like to a UTV or something to pull it around with. So we'll see if it's going to be able to handle what we're trying to do with it. We're going to probably either pull off this expanded metal in here or put the top right over the top of it and stitch it in place. We're going to put a flat top all the way on this thing. It's going to increase the weight by probably close to 100 pounds without the generator, but I'm not going to set it on top of that tubing. I want to be able to set something on the frame all the way around, and it's going to be substantial weight. The generator's say 250 pounds, you know, without fuel. So anyway, all right. Okay, here's the top by itself. Like I said, it's about 46 by 30. You can see that very thin, cheap, expanded metal on the top. Then we're gonna put a plate on top, like a 1/4 inch by, I don't know, it's probably, we're gonna cut a little bit short all the way around so that the sides can still, we put the sides on, so it's probably, you know, 44 by 28, you know, and some change. So I'll put the plate on there, show you what that's going to look like before we stitch it in.
Alright, we've kind of mock sat that steel plate on top of the frame. It's a 1/4-inch plate, and it's 44.5 by, what is it, 28 3/4. Weighs about 90 pounds, that plate. So we've cut it back enough that we should still be able to get the side rails installed on there once it's welded in place. Okay, finished stitching the plate on. We prepped the surface, ready for painting. I'm going to paint it kind of a semi-gloss black, primer it first, and then give it a good coat of paint. Okay, there she is. Primered, 3 coats of semi-gloss black paint. Not much more I can show about that. Turned out nice. Hopefully the rest of the project goes smooth. Don't know how the cart's going to handle the weight when it's done, but we're giving it a better chance to displace the weight on there. We'll see how it goes. That's about it. Okay, well, here's the finished product. So I made a template of the 8-bolt pattern, and I transferred that pattern to the steel plate on the cart. The pattern itself is offset a bit and isn't centered on the entire generator, so that's important. If you're going to mount it down, make sure you know that the bolt pattern is not centered on the generator, so figure that out. Again, sorry for the wind picking up out here, so hopefully it's not too bad. I used 8 1/4 by 1-inch bolts, flats, locks, and nuts, all stainless, to secure this thing down to the 1/4-inch steel plate. So it's not going to be going anywhere. So let's take a little quick walk around, and I'll show you some of the things before we give it a start. So I put all the interface and stuff at the back so I can get to it easy. And these rails, of course, that you saw earlier, do remove. There you can see down the bottom here is the battery. So that's a 12-volt 9-amp-hour battery. I also installed a little pigtail. You can see it right here. I put a little pigtail in here, and that's for a battery charger conditioner, a small one that's like a wall wart plugs in. That way it'll keep the battery all conditioned and ready to go, so when I need it. I did use that 10W30 Mobil 1 synthetic oil. There's the oil filler and oil dipstick down there. And it does take about 1.2 quarts. And I already checked the level and it's all good. One note is that the spark plug that I took out, it's over on the other side here. So spark plugs right near. That was the Chinese. It was a Torch F7 TC, not an F6 TC. But it did cross-reference to an NGK part number. It's a BPR6ES. So that's what I installed inside this thing. So I also disassembled the carburetor, and I replaced the main jet for a 3,000 to 6,000 foot altitude operation. And that's located right here. So they give you the jets, they give you O-rings and all that, so you can replace it so it can work up here in higher elevation. And then lastly, I purchased 5 gallons of 87 octane non-ethanol-based fuel, which I can get out here. So I'm going to run that. So let's give it a start it up, and see how it runs. I'm anticipating it to be pretty loud. So I was going to connect it to my fridge and show it working under load, but I didn't think that small amount of a load was going to make a big difference. So I'm going to forgo that test. So let's start it up, let you hear it, let it run for a few minutes or a couple minutes. I'm expecting it to be loud, so I'm going to walk away a distance so you can hear it. But again, I do expect it to be loud, and certainly louder than the comparable Honda generator. So here we go, we'll give it a start. As you can see, I left some room up here to put a crate so we can carry some tools, extension cords and things. Ew. Anyway, choke is on, gas is already on. This is the pull start. We'll go to the electric start, and here she goes. So that's the main exhaust output right there. There's also through the muffler, there's an exhaust here on the right where the louvers are. So definitely on the exhaust pipe side of it now. Anyway, so there you go. Happy with the way it turned out. Gonna get some good use out of it. So, anyway, as always, thanks for taking the time to watch, like, or subscribe, and hope to bring you guys another video real soon.